Give the gift of a delicious burger from Bulldog Burger, a soup and sandwich from Sweet Pepper's Deli, appetizers and cocktails from The Grill, or even a wood-fired steak from Harvey's. Choice is the perfect gift. An all-in-one gift card from Eat With Us.
When choosing a dentist for our family, Tupelo Smiles was the answer for us. They greet us with warm smiles right when we walk in the door, and they make us feel so welcome. We love Tupelo Smiles.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 10.
Well, a few showers moved through the area earlier on today, but dry conditions over the top of North Mississippi right now. I'm meteorologist Gabe Maynor, and welcome into Mississippi Live Weather at 10. That is the big story heading into our Thursday, is just how many more rain chances are there? And of course, we're going to see an increase in those rain chances as we get into our Thursday. Of course, that is the big headline here at the 10 o'clock hour, is going to be how much rainfall do we see? Well, they're climbing Thursday. More impactful rainfall is expected. Wouldn't be surprised if we hear a few rumbles of thunder as well. But a brief cool down beyond that point, and then we're going to warm right back up heading into Saturday. Picture perfect football forecast. Maybe a bit breezy for our Crimson Tide fans, but nonetheless, it's going to be looking good come this weekend, and I hope you are ready for an above average forecast. Not really the case right now. Temperature wise, yes, but when it comes to those rain chances, yeah, it's just kind of a dreary night. Mostly cloudy skies, 10% chances by 11. Same thing during those early AM hours, but as we work into that 8, 9, 10, even 11 o'clock hours, you can see 30% scattered chances of showers back in the forecast, and that's going to be bringing some impactful rainfall as well. If you went outside today, you might have not even known that it was raining because of how limited and how non-significant those rain chances were. Well, tomorrow, bit of a change of the story. Kosciuszko tonight, 52 degrees. I always love showcasing the church there in Kosciuszko because it is those midweek services. We're prepping for our Christmas holiday right around the corner. If you have not done that shopping, we are officially in the single digits. Yes, we are, I believe. Hang on, let me look behind the scenes. Yes, yeah, we are in the single digits. So, oh man, if you've not done shopping, now is the time, but it is going to be hectic over the next couple of days. So make sure to, of course, enjoy the forecast, but get what you need to done over the next few days. West Point 49 degrees, dew point upper 30. So that measure of moisture is back into the forecast. And that's the big thing that happened today, was moisture moved back in. It was a very dry pattern for the start of this week, but now that moisture's in the forecast, it's not as much of an uphill battle for those showers and storms tomorrow. That's why we increase those chances a little bit more. Looking out there in Pontotoc, 48 degrees, still in the upper 30s for those dew points, but continuing to climb as we get into those overnight hours. And temperatures right now really going to be as cool as they'll be heading into those overnight hours as a result. Now let's go ahead and get a look at our Mississippi Live Weather Radar, forecasting a few of those pop-up showers. I'm really hesitant to even say showers, but these are very limited, non-significant showers that are working their way through Cleveland, just on the east side of Highway 61, Water Valley, Bruce, and Oxford getting those as well. And in Pontotoc, getting a few of those pop-up showers. So this is just going to continue to work its way through the region. We do expect a lot of these showers to continue to be elevated, but it is building back that moisture in the forecast, and again, aiding in that development happening on our Thursday. As we move down south, you can see how the difference. I'm going to go back and forth on this for a second. This is our Jackson radar site, earlier looking at the Monroe County radar site. As you can see right here, not really getting as much coverage, or sorry, an increased coverage out of Jackson than what we had originally out of Monroe County. Let's go back to that radar site here. You can see how the coverage goes down several miles. So what that means is that a lot of this is going to be elevated. Looking out of that Jackson site, this is a beam that's shooting higher up into the atmosphere, so it is going to be a bit more widespread when it comes to that rainfall, because up top, up high in the atmosphere, it is a little bit more widespread. What's actually reaching the surface is a very, very isolated area, and that'll continue to be the case overnight. So we're able to get those views at a different radar sites. And as we jump up there towards Memphis, similar story again with that increased coverage. This is not exactly the main story. If we move it back here to our Monroe County radar site, you can definitely see that, yeah, things are looking a lot more thin. They are there. I do expect that a few sprinkles are in that forecast, but I'm not exactly overwhelmed by the significance of that moisture. Still going to be very limited for those rain chances overnight. A better view on this would be some of those rainfall totals over the past 24 hours. Going to have to highlight in a few of these. And as you can see, just working our way through the region, all the way up to 3/4 of an inch just over there towards Tate County. But as we highlight more of the area, you can see trace amounts continue to be the big story, with some limited areas that are getting about 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch. But that was really from this morning's rainfall. What's happened this afternoon has been pretty much non-existent. Trace amounts, not exactly anything to write home about. But if we look on the expanded picture, you can see that down south is getting better chances, especially out there in the Gulf. You can see Victoria, Texas, above 2 inches. The rest of the area, 1/2 an inch to an inch, continuing to build up there towards the northeast and giving us those rain chances into our Thursday. So again, that moisture building back and making way for a more saturated forecast. Right now, where we sit, still with those light showers. So this was earlier on today, but this will gradually build into the area as we get into those overnight hours. Let's expand this out and let's talk the latest on our surface analysis, because the big story has been this frontal system. This one that's all the way up there towards Montana, the Dakotas, building down there along that cold front towards parts of Nebraska, Kansas, Colorado, and New Mexico. That cold front is actually our weather maker heading into the next couple of days. So as I bring in, got to find it real quick. There it is, the measuring tool. Let's track that front from the distance here in North Mississippi. And we're still 542 miles, and that is still a ways away. This is going to pick up speed about 40 miles an hour moving into the state of Mississippi. So this is going to be coming very quickly over the next 24 hours. So just get ready, have that rain gear ready. Trust me, you'll be glad you did as you get into that expanded forecast. So let's bring it back in here to the southeast area to get a better visual on these rain chances. There we go. Love when technology cooperates. Building it back in here to the North Mississippi area. Yes, isolated chances do continue overnight. I think this widespread is a little bit of a hope rather than an actuality. So as that works its way into the southern portion of our viewing area, that's going to be where the best chances of rainfall are, but limited light showers still in our forecast by 3 a.m. As we gradually work our way into that morning commute, you can see how these chances increase just a bit, bringing it a little bit closer here to the Twin States. You're getting a few of those yellows and reds that are popping up. That's going to be those higher rainfall outputs, getting all the way close to maybe 1/4 of an inch. I wouldn't say 1/2 of an inch for that first round of showers, but those gradually building across North Mississippi, but primarily going to stick along the state line there from Alabama and Mississippi, where we get the most significant impacts. Those continue to build into northwest Alabama, so folks in Franklin, Monroe, Lamar, and Pickens County, make sure to have that rain gear ready by 9 a.m. So that morning commute, basically, if you live along the state line, have an umbrella in the back seat. Best case scenario, you'll be glad you did. But as we get into that afternoon time frame, a brief break. But then the showers work their way back into the forecast. By noontime, you're starting to get a little bit more of those reds popping up. And to give you perspective on the colors of our precip, the red is the heavier portion, as you can see on our legend up top. But what the red is something that we did not see today. So that heavier output of rainfall is something that we did not get at all. We got those greens and maybe a yellow at times, but that rainfall output is going to be very or much more significant as we get into our Thursday compared to what we had today. And again, we'll get into that here in just a moment. But as you can see, as that front works its way through the area, by 1 p.m., you're still getting those showers building along I-55 and working their way east into that mid to late afternoon. So that's why our forecast basically has 30 to 40% chances from morning up until the afternoon. So if you're dropping kids off a little bit late, maybe they don't have an exam until 9 or 10 a.m., then make sure to have that rain gear ready. But even by that 6 a.m. commute, I mean, we're still talking 20 to 30% chances. So err on the side of caution, stay on the drier side, and you'll be glad you did. But as we get into that afternoon time frame, 40% coverage, make sure those students have that rain gear ready, because it is going to be a soggy one for some parts. Again, very scattered coverage, but we do expect those impacts to be felt for a good bit of us here in North Mississippi. So coming up in the next 60, we're breaking down this entire forecast county by county, as well as walking through the warm up, the cool down, and the warm up. Yeah, it's a roller coaster of temperatures over the next few days. We'll have the latest details on that coming up here from the Room to Room Weather Center for Mississippi Live Weather at 10 in the next 60.
Hi, my name is Rosie. Regional Rehab Center helps kids like me by offering speech therapy, occupational therapy, and dyslexia therapy. Your support helps so many of us get what we need to grow and succeed. Please help the Rehab Center.
If you're a family of 4, 5,
or 6, 7,
Merry Christmas
from
Mississippi Live Weather.
That was good.
I think that was the one.
Okay.
Go.
Oh, you guys didn't do it.
No, we didn't.
You wonder how they're going to experience the real world in real safety, where all kids are welcome and everyone has a path forward to new skills, advancement, leadership, something they will carry with them. the rest of their lives.
Right now, from the Mississippi Live Weather Center, here's meteorologist Gabe Maynor.
We're getting a great look outside there in Oxford tonight, getting some of that low-lying cloud cover building into the area. 50 degrees right now, dew point at 37. We do expect that dew point to climb, and as that climbs, moisture builds into the area and makes way for a soggy forecast for some as we get into our Thursday. But not just in Oxford. I always tell you, if we show Oxford, we got to show Starkville. Our college towns being represented this weekend, whether it's on the basketball court or on the football field. Oxford going to be busy heading into our Saturday. We'll hear from our Will Kohlmeyer in just a moment on a little bit of a preview heading into Saturday's matchup, but should be a good one, and I know a lot of fans are excited to get back in the Vaught Hemingway after thinking they wouldn't be back after that last game of the season. But the playoff, it's going to be a good time. First playoff game in Mississippi history. Nothing more historic than that. 50 degrees in Starkville. Again, 48 degrees on that dew point. So a little bit more moisture the further south you go, but we do expect that to climb as we get into our Thursday forecast. As we take a look over in Fulton, a busy night tonight. Busy there on the streets. The sky, pretty tame. Those showers not really getting into Itawamba County just yet. But again, gradually working their way north. And we do expect folks in Itawamba County heading into our forecast on Thursday to be getting a little bit more of those rain chances. But 22 looking good to go, as well as 25. Just a beautiful day in North Mississippi today. Temperatures were so much more bearable, and I know a lot of folks are happy about that. Well, I'd love to tell you that it's getting better tomorrow. Brief break on Friday, but then building back into the weekend. I saw some folks in chat talking about how the warm-up won't last long. It's lasting a pretty good chunk of time. Yes, there is that brief break on Friday that we'll break down in just a moment, but I think that this is going to be a pretty warm forecast for several days, so enjoy it. Should be a good one. Our Mississippi Live Weather Radar tracking those limited showers working their way through the region. And I told you guys that these are going to be much more elevated whenever it comes to those impacts. What we're getting here on the ground is just a light sprinkle or two. And as we look at those storm tops, of course, that kind of guides that forecast a bit more. Look at that legend at the top of your screen. Some of those light blues only around 10,000 feet, potentially 15 to maybe 20,000 feet, but I think that's on the higher end of the spectrum. I mean, what this means is we're not getting any of that vertical development, so those raindrops are not exactly large as they fall. That results in a very minimal amount of moisture, and that's why we're not getting those high outputs just yet. Let me see if it'll detect it. I don't think it'll go all the way out there into Arkansas and Louisiana, but no, it will not. I was hopeful that that was more of a national composite rather than a local composite. But what it does tell me is that any of those showers that work through the area tonight are not going to be too impactful. It's the stuff that's moving through during our Thursday afternoon that's going to be a bit more impactful, and even experience a few rumbles of thunder with that as well. Now, rainfall rates, I know you're looking at this map and saying, Gabe, what exactly am I supposed to be looking at? It's these little bits of blues that are popping up, and I'm going to highlight in a few of these totals. But as you can see, 0.05 of an inch an hour? Yeah, that's not impactful at all. About 1/10 of an inch there, 1/10 of an inch per hour there in Water Valley. Bruce, about 0. I mean, this is just going to be a non-significant rain chance. So yes, the chances are there. Yes, it's still at 10%, but it's not going to be something that's exactly impressive or anything that you're going to go outside and be like, wow, this is so cool, getting all of this rainfall. So your day planner tonight, still only about 10% coverage there by midnight, 3 a.m., 6 a.m., 20% coverage, and you can see the temperatures. They're about as cool as they're going to get into those overnight hours right now. Climbing as we get into our morning commute into the low 50s, and that's a result of that moist forecast, that saturated forecast, and those southerly winds bringing back some of that warmer air. So as we keep this future cast going, you can see on our models that we're still forecasting a few pop-up showers here and there, but even those looking very limited in fashion, so not going to experience any of those rumbles of thunder overnight. As we get into that 2 o'clock time frame, some of those light showers work their way into the Golden Triangle, but this is actually the leading edge of what should be more significant moisture during our morning commute. Watch how these rain chances build into the Golden Triangle and gradually work their way up the state line, bringing with it some moderate rainfall, a little bit different than what we had today, as well as some heavy rainfall with some of those cells back there towards West Point, Columbus, and Louisville by 6 a.m. Those chances continue to build there on the east side of our viewing area, but a welcome sign whenever we're talking about the latest drought monitor coming out tomorrow, and we need to alleviate some of those drought conditions, and we're getting this rainfall rainfall in the forecast. We'll definitely take every bit of it that we can get. But those rainfall totals, as we walk through that forecast, that first round by 5 a.m. only getting about 1/10 of an inch, and that's on the best side of things as these chances work their way on through. Some of those heavier sections do up those to nearly 1/4 of an inch, but as we get towards 10 a.m., that more significant moisture builds into that southeast part of our viewing area up the state line, and we're getting that 1/4 of an inch all the way into northwest Alabama and into the Huntsville and Florence area as well. As we get into our afternoon forecast, you can see that rain chances do move back into the forecast, limited in fashion at first, but some of those heavier sections do work their way through along with that cold front, and that's what's going to bring us even more significant moisture on the back end of this. So for our folks that live out there in the Delta or in northwest Mississippi, don't worry. I know rain chances look very likely out here in the eastern part of our area, and you guys are going to be very limited. I do think that folks out there in Clarksdale, Tunica, Greenville, as well as Cleveland do get their fair share of showers, and the entire area, at least most of the area, should be getting at least a drop into our Thursday. Now, it's not going to last forever, but it is at least going to be some type of rainfall in that forecast. Excited to see what some of our weather watchers out in the field have whenever it comes to those rain gauges, because I know we all track that, and I want to see some of those reports, some of those local reports that we can factor into the forecast moving into our Thursday evening broadcast. Our low temperatures Thursday, 46 degrees Houston, 47 Oxford, low 50s out there in Clarksdale, Cleveland, and Belzona. So it is going to be slightly warmer in some parts, but nonetheless, it is above average all across the Magnolia State. It is looking like a great forecast. Of course, wind chill factored in whenever we're sub 50 degrees, so not exactly factoring in with this forecast, but that's a great sign. Our school day forecast, of course, wrapping up that school week as folks head into winter break. If you're not there already, drop off 50 degrees, 59 by lunch, and low 60s towards that final bell. You do see 30 to nearly 40% coverage all day long, so have that rain gear ready. And if you're planning out to go outside at any point during the day, make sure to have that Mississippi Live Weather app downloaded so you can track the latest on those showers as they work their way through North Mississippi. But as you get a good look there, 7:30, we were talking about all that, about 1/4 of an inch of rainfall working its way up the state line. You can see how those chances really start to build as we get into that 7:30, 8, and 9 o'clock, all the way into northwest Alabama, where the highest outputs are expected to be issued. But as we get towards our noontime hour, brief break over the top of North Mississippi. That's going to be where those chances drop to around 20%, but then build back as we enter towards that noontime hour. And as you can see, that line already starting to get a little bit more concentrated by noontime, well across the Mississippi River. Limited impacts, but as these work their way through the warmer climate there in North Mississippi, or should I say warmer atmosphere here in North Mississippi, we'll see some of these showers develop into thunderstorms, and yes, a few rumbles of thunder, not an impossibility with this system. So 1:30, right along I-55, by 3 o'clock, right along Highway 45, and that's where we're going to see more significant impacts of some of those rainfall totals amounting to maybe up to 1/2 of an inch, not impossible, but that's again where we need your guys' reports about what you see out there in the field and how much rainfall you do accumulate over in your neck of the woods. So 3 p.m. working its way along Highway 45 across the state line by 4 and 5 o'clock, and then out of the area into the central parts of Alabama by 6 p.m. And you see what's moving in behind it: drier and colder air. Yes, there's that break that we're going to have whenever we're talking about these warmer temperatures. So enjoy what we get on Thursday. Despite the rainfall being in the forecast, we are going to be experiencing a pretty significant cool down come Friday. Now 64 in Amory for our Thursday afternoon, 65 Golden Triangle, 65 Grenada, and 63 there towards Clarksdale. As we keep this futurecast going, you can see that those rain chances work their way out, but look at these breezy conditions moving into the forecast by 9 p.m. That's that northwesterly wind, which has that cooler and drier air, and I'm going to say colder and drier air actually. So as you get into your Thursday night, of course, you're going to be going to bed with some mild conditions, but waking up Friday morning to a cold start to the day, that's a result of that wind shift and bringing back some of that colder air and these dry conditions allowing for that heat to escape. So if you wanted some of that colder air, here you go. Friday is the one day to enjoy whenever it comes to that forecast. And as we work through the day, you can see that our forecast does remain dry and clear all day long. The big result of that is because we are on the east side of high pressure, and high pressure has that clockwise circulation to it. So a lot of that northerly air works its way into North Mississippi, and the further we are from that high pressure system, that's where we do get some of that stronger wind gusts, and that gradually works its way into the area by 9 a.m. and becomes a bit calmer as we get towards that noontime hour. But I want you to take a look over there at Oklahoma. Look at Oklahoma as we get into our afternoon forecast. And of course, I'll keep North Mississippi on there, but there's not really much to talk about in North Mississippi. Those breezy conditions working into the state of Oklahoma are going to be insane. Crimson Tide fans, you know why I'm mentioning that forecast. But for others that don't, Alabama is playing in Oklahoma 7 p.m. Friday night. And kicking, I think nearly impossible whenever it comes to this forecast. And if you account for that wind, I mean, I'm very curious to watch this game and see how it turns out with those breezy conditions. As we get into our 6 o'clock forecast, of course, that same breezy forecast for Oklahoma is expected. You can see the tails of those wind barbs. I mean, they're going to be insane. But over the top of us in North Mississippi, pretty calm, pretty clear. Good forecast shaping up for your Friday night. So get out there and enjoy it. High temperatures taking a bit of a step back. It's the low temperatures that'll feel cold. High temperatures do warm up gradually as we get towards that afternoon forecast. 48 Senatobia, 49 Clarksdale, 52 Grenada, and 50 around Houston, 52 Golden Triangle, and 54 towards Kosciuszko. Forecasted rainfall over the next 3 days. We're talking about 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch. So this is not going to be a high impact event. But luckily, it's happening now and not during your weekend whenever our football games push back into the forecast. As you can see, Alabama traveling to Oklahoma, and winds have kind of taken a step back, only about 15 to 20 miles an hour for the start of the game. But yes, by that final snap, 24 miles an hour sustained winds. That means gusts could get up to 30 plus miles an hour. So it's going to be breezy, kicking, and a possibility. I've seen even throwing the ball is pretty hard in this type of forecast. So make sure if you're a Crimson Tide fan that you let DeBoer know he needs to run the ball come Friday evening. Now, as we look at our Saturday forecast with Tulane traveling to Oxford to take on the Ole Miss Rebels, first place 62 degrees, 60 by halftime, and mid-50s by that final snap. For our Rebel fans out there who are worried about the wind, don't worry, only about 10 to 15 miles an hour at the start of the game, but as the game goes on, become much calmer towards the latter half. So maybe throwing the ball and kicking the ball, not going to be as hard as the Crimson Tide or Oklahoma Sooners. So should be a good forecast. Cloud cover does linger a bit as we get into that afternoon time frame, but nonetheless, it is still shaping up to be a fantastic matchup. Now, I do want to note, our Will Kohlmeyer, the expert behind Mississippi sports, he has the latest for us on the matchup heading into our Saturday head-to-head against Tulane and Ole Miss. He's at Vaught Hemingway, or should I say at Ole Miss's campus. He has the latest on what to expect with that matchup.
Welcome to the Ole Miss campus here in Oxford. This practice field for the Ole Miss football team has been busy as they continue their preps this week, getting ready for Tulane this weekend. Right across the way here at Vaught Hemingway Stadium, a first-round college football playoff game against Tulane. What a year it has been for these 11-1 Rebels. It was supposed to be a rebuilding year, right? For some of you that are not going to be able to get inside Vaught Hemingway Stadium, don't forget the game is on TNT, so you'll have that to look out for when it comes to watching the game. And don't forget, if you are coming to Vaught Hemingway Stadium, be sure to check it out, see what section you're going to be in, because Ole Miss wants to stripe it out. So you got to decide if you're going to be in the red section or if you're in a section that's going to be wearing navy blue. So as we continue to look at this matchup this week between Ole Miss and Tulane, of course, Ole Miss the 6th seed, Tulane the 11th seed. The Tulane Green Wave, one of the teams that got the automatic bid for the group of 5, and they are having a nice season themselves. Of course, their first matchup here in Oxford didn't turn out very well. Got beat by 5 touchdowns back in September. One of the keys, though, this year for Ole Miss, at least in my book, I call it the big 3 in football. And that is, we've got to dominate on the offensive line, the defensive line, and you got to have a dynamic quarterback. And Ole Miss has been able to do all of that this year. In fact, if the Rebels had their defensive line from last year, this season, I think they win that game at Georgia. Of course, the offensive line has been taking care of business, and they do have that stud quarterback, don't they, in Trinidad Chambliss. And he has had plenty of weapons. You know, his receiving core, he's got all kinds of guys to throw it to. And how about the year Kewan Lacey had at running back? He's had some impressive numbers. Some of the so-called experts calling Lacey one of, if not the best running back in the country. I know Ahmad Hardy and the Missouri fans are thinking, hey, wait a second, Will, better think about our guy as well. But Anyway, getting back to Ole Miss and this college football playoff, they have their stud quarterback, they have an offensive line, they have a defensive line. That should be enough this week, but we'll continue our previews all week long from here in Oxford as we count down to Saturday afternoon's tussle with Tulane, the first round of the college football playoff here in Oxford on the Ole Miss campus. But for now, that's the story here. We'll send it back to the studio.
Well, thank you, Will, and excited for that matchup happening this weekend. And again, Alabama looking like a good matchup there in Oklahoma on Friday night. So we'll stay tuned. Will have the latest for those matchups heading into the next couple of days. So stay tuned here to Mississippi Live Weather for a little dose of sports as well, as we like to dabble in that just a bit. But Thursday, rainy forecast. Friday, though, transitioning to a beautiful forecast. Cold temperatures starting in the mid-30s, climbing to the upper 40s. Saturday starts off around freezing, but climbs into the low 60s by the afternoon. So game time should be warm enough, but those tailgates during the early morning going to be a bit chilly. Might need to grab those jackets to stay warm. Sunday, we do see those warm temperatures stick around, but isolated chances in that forecast Sunday and Monday. As we work into our Tuesday and our Christmas Eve, yes, right around the corner, going to be in the upper 60s. So anyone want a white Christmas? Well, not here in North Mississippi, that's for sure. It's just going to be too warm. No rainfall either in the forecast, so precipitation is a 0 right now. So the unfortunate part about it, I did see some folks in chat saying that they were very excited about the warmer weather. Big Christmas gift. Well, that's the Christmas gift that we love to give here at Mississippi Live Weather. If you're mad about the forecast, we didn't mean to. But I also did see Brenda saying that how many times is Gabe going to mention school next week? I'm going to try my best, but we will see. Either way, going to be a great forecast shaping up for the next couple of days. We are so excited to get to experience it, but also excited for some rainfall in the forecast. Of course, our meteorologist, Maggie McCauley, will have the latest on that forecast coming up on the Mississippi Live Weather app. If you have not downloaded it, be one of the many and download it on iOS and Android today to stay updated on that forecast. And again, track those rain chances heading into your Thursday plans, whether that's in the morning or afternoon, both of those being impacted by that limited, or should I say scattered chance of rainfall. Again, our broadcast 6:37 and 7:30 with meteorologist Maggie McCauley. So make sure to stay tuned for the latest on that. She'll be walking through the showers to expect right then, but even showers to expect in the near future. And then 5, 6, and 10, we'll be back tracking what's left of that moisture associated with that cold front and what to expect beyond the cold front. And a little hint, it's going to be cold. All right, we'll have the latest for you coming up on your Thursday forecast. We thank you for joining us. Until then, have a terrific Thursday, and we will see you bright and early with meteorologist Maggie McCauley.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious. When he began to discover weather, Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes, and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.